Today, I'm going to show you exactly how Claude's 30-hour autonomous work transforms marketing, sales, leadership, and personal productivity. We're going to reveal practical workflows you can implement today to free up 20 hours a week. And I'm going to walk you through tangible examples for all these different use cases, ranging across sales, marketing, leadership, and personal development. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Ryan Staley. I have helped companies with AI transformation over the last 2.5 years, ranging from growth stage startups all the way to publicly traded companies with 20 billion in revenue. Now, today, what I'm going to do is go over those areas specifically with Claude 4.5, Sonnet, or I should say Sonnet 4.5, that just got released. And really what happened is on September 29th, there's a capability that changes the entire game. Okay. Basically now this tool can work autonomously for 30 hours on complex multi-step tasks. There's a lot of buzz about the coding side of this, which has definite merit. And I've seen some amazing things in terms of the games it's produced in other areas. However, what I'm starting to think through is, okay, how can you leverage this for go-to-market? How can you leverage this to grow a company and not just create product? And so that's what we're going to go through today. In addition, I'm going to hit as a bonus, there's two other key features in Claude that were released. I'm going to walk you through those and show you because they're really exciting. And I see big potential for both of them. Okay. So why don't I start sharing my screen and you can see exactly the layout that I have for this. And we're going to walk through step by step so you can understand what this could do for you and your organization. Okay. So as you can see here, Cloud 4.5, one of the key areas is in the benchmarks, it's crushed everything. Okay. Now there's some areas where GPT-5 is better. However, I was really impressed with this. And then these are the two bonus areas that I will show you that you could even try and experiment. I'll work through it real time, how you build your own app. This is a new Claude Imagine capability that I was really impressed with. But let's stay on track and go through, first of all, the 30-hour autonomous revolution. Okay. And so let's start with marketing. And there's basically three good use cases for marketing. There's content creation and there's competitor analysis and market research. So I'm going to break these down piece by piece. And then you can start to think through, all right, how can I start to implement this within my business and what's possible? All right. So imagine this workflow for the use case in content. Friday at 5 p.m., you give Claude your content calendar for the next month, brand guidelines, target audience research, and campaign objectives. And then basically you ask it to create blog posts, social media content, email sequences, landing page copy, and ad variations. It works through the weekend, writing, editing, and optimizing for SEO and brand voice. And then next thing you know it, you have 30 days of ready to publish content. Okay. I think that's legitimately possible. Now, granted, there's a lot of setup work you need to be able to do that. However, there's a really unique capability where basically Anthropic is enabling their agentic SDK use cases, or I should say agentic SDK, which is their software development kit for agents so that you can create agents by giving it a name. Okay. And by also identifying what you want that agent to do. Okay. So it could be a financial analysis, be an account research. It could be a campaign calendar. And then you could stack these on top of each other, but I'm not going to get too much into the implementation today. This is so new and literally hours old. So I wanted to really share with you what's possible first, and then start to get more tactical in terms of execution on some of these areas. Okay. So number two, let's talk about the competitor analysis area, right? So here's what you do. Same thing. You can do it Friday, monitor competitor websites, analyze their campaigns, track product launches, synthesize social media campaigns, identify market gaps, and then even generate a strategic report. Okay, so by Monday, what you're going to have is a 50-page competitive intelligence report. And the beautiful thing about it is this is going to be hyper detailed. And the beautiful thing in number two is you're going to be able to drop this in your file folders anywhere. Apologize, folks, by the way, if I'm a little bit off. I have a really bad cold right now. So I'm totally stuffed up, but wanted to power through this. So anyways, just give you some context on that. So that's step two on the marketing. Let's go into sales now. I want to show you a few examples of sales. So there's really three core use cases that I liked within sales. One is prospecting and lead generation automation. Two is personalized outreach at scale. And three are sales, for the sales use cases, are CRM management and pipeline optimization. Okay. So what you're seeing here is a pattern of running while sleeping, kind of that feeling when you're creating this. Let's talk about the prospecting and lead generation. So here's the workflow I imagine. Feed Claude your ideal customer profile, market parameters, and qualification criteria. By the way, there's a really simple way to do it. If you operate mostly in ChatGPT or Claude and you have memory turned on, you could ask it to generate those three areas for you. Okay, that's something I've been going over with my clients. And I'm blown away with the accuracy where it looks at your chat threads and your context and then creates those for you. Okay, so that's food for thought. However, what it could do is research the companies, score them, gather information about their business challenges. And then what happens is if you start to have that prospecting outreach, what you're going to see in the next step for the personalized outreach at scale, what this will do is it'll give the customization, not like a form factor or basically area where it's just dropped in where certain minor pieces are customized. You'll have an entire sequence where the person feels like you spent 30 minutes of time just trying to understand them, get to know them, their business, all those areas. So, what I would do in this situation is mimic the exact process you would use for attacking an enterprise sales customer, but for prospecting at scale, and then integrating triggers and other areas to do that. So that's number 5 in terms of the use case at scale. Number 6, okay, so this is, you could do this as an individual level or for leadership for your team. What you're going to see is basically imagine if you looked at and had a tool that looked at your entire pipeline, inspected all the different areas, looked at the notes and the categories, and then understanding patterns, flag at risk deals based on communication and other areas within it. So imagining basically cross functionally looking at Salesforce, Slack, and other enterprise tools with different updates. And so you could monitor this 24/7 by having this set up at kind of different intervals or running. And the beautiful thing about it is this will keep you, one of the biggest areas that I've seen with CROs I've worked with is they'll be operating in a good path, their team will be doing well, and then all of a sudden, bang, they get popped in the face because they don't have enough pipeline and they need to scramble and make up for that. And their quarter's at risk because they had a few big deals slide. This would give kind of a continuous, ongoing approach to this. And I don't even think you would need to run it every day, except if you had high velocity sales process. But what you could do is really, really nail that and have that on a consistent basis, almost like a little agent sitting on your shoulder, monitoring that aspect. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop up to the sales lead, or I should say not just sales, but leadership use cases. So we went from marketing to sales and now leadership. So we got strategic decision support, we got executive briefing and data analysis. All right. So one of the things that I've seen with executives is they are getting fried because of all the context that they need to manage across different areas. So where I see this could be really solid with like a 30-hour autonomy is basically looking at kind of expansion in different verticals or areas, product launch and capital allocation. And you can ask for an analysis and it looks at real-time data, not just that you have, that you provide it, but also external data, right? About the vertical, the industry, political risk, all those areas, and benchmark it versus competitors. So the thing is, this isn't going to necessarily replace executive judgment. However, it's going to be a force multiplier of a process that takes hours and hours and hours to do manually, where you could basically kind of act like Jarvis, where in Iron Man, where basically Tony Stark just identifies the outcome. It works across 7 different systems and then gives him a recommendation on what to do. That's kind of the visual I have on this one. Okay. So let's look at this one, number 8, executive and briefing analysis. So in this example, this is really interesting because I think the beautiful thing about it is we could set Claude to generate a weekly executive briefing every Friday evening. So it pulls data from all the BI intelligence systems, CRM, or key data areas, looks at your KPIs and trends, and then synthesizes those, has a recommendation, and then looks at your weeks moving forward. Now, I do this on a weekly basis manually. I'm excited to try and put this into Claude codes. Basically, I could leverage Claude, or it doesn't even have to be Claude code, but Sonnet 4.5 and use it because of the off the chart reasoning and ability that it has. So I could set this up even potentially with connectors in Claude AI so that you could leverage this and tap into your different sources. Once again, this is something that I've done personally for my weekly wrap, my CEO weekly wrap, and it works really, really well. Okay, so now we're going to shift gears and go into more of the personal use cases. So life automation, productivity, and then skill development. So this is an area that I am really deeply passionate about. And obviously personal development, personal growth is huge if you want to keep up with what's happening within AI or life right now, because I've never seen anything operate faster in the history of man than what we're going through right now. So what we're going to see is you could effectively have Claude organize your life every Sunday night, process your calendar, and you can even look at this through 2 lenses. You can look at this through the work lens and through the personal lens, and basically have it Look at, what you have coming up in terms of routine emails, meal plans, areas like that that you want to formulate within your life, and then have your schedule optimized. And so, what that would do effectively is it can get you on the right track as long as you give it the right logic that you're trying to follow. And this is an area that I think is hard but easy at the same time, right? You try and boil the ocean, you're going to run into issues. However, if you keep it pretty simple and you look across, areas that maybe you need to spend with your kids or your family, as well as personal time, working out, areas like that, and give it some guardrails, I think it'll do really good in terms of understanding that. Whenever I've had an AI model look at what I'm doing in my personal life and professional life, it always gives me great insights on that. Okay. The next is personal use case, and that's learning and skill development. What I think is it could create a personalized curriculum over current knowledge and goals and generate lessons with examples, and then monitor your progress as you track it. So it can prepare the entire week of learning materials, video summaries, code exercises, whatever you need. And effectively, it's almost like having a private tutor 24 by 7. So here's what I would say in terms of implementation. And I'm going to show you some examples of actual tools as well. But if we're looking at the cost analysis and ROI, I think there is, I don't know if you saw the GDP Val report by OpenAI, but effectively what that does is that has unlocked and basically stack ranked how these AI models are performing against human experts. And what they're finding is it's able to do the most economically valuable tasks in a lot of cases at the same level, but it's 100 times faster and 100 times cheaper. So once again, like not all of these that I went through are 30-hour tasks. Some of are 30-minute tasks you could see, right? But what I would say is if you think through this and think of areas that you have multi-step tasks with a lot of process or projects, this could really be a massive cheat code for you. In terms of implementation, I think the simplest way is get started with really, really one use case. And that's all. Start with one use case, one high impact use case. Don't try and do everything at once. You got to get API access to Claude 4.5 through Claude AI. At the same time, you could identify clear outputs and outcomes that you want, and then try and run your first overnight test. Now, the one thing that I would recommend is I would do this on a separate standalone computer to start and put it in that environment so that it doesn't have, and why I'm saying standalone computer, by the way, without having access to all your resource important files, right? Almost like a dummy computer. Um, if you don't want to do that, you could test it for a smaller increment, like an hour or 2 hours, basically let it run and also kind of monitor at the same time. So it's almost like a crawl, walk, run with this. However, like I've started experiments with Claude Code and the agents within there, and I'm really impressed with content creation and some of the things that it'll do, which I can make a future video about it. But I wanted to share this breakdown with you and then also give you a couple examples of the other areas that just got released as well, because I was blown away with it. Okay, so Claude Chrome. This will enable Claude to operate within your Chrome function. And as you can see, can manage your inbox for you, also look at shopping, and help even make a reservation for you. Now, this was probably the least excited exercise that, or exercise feature that I would look at when it comes to this, because I think these are starting to become a dime a dozen now. And I've seen them work okay, but I've never been blown away with them. However, they are getting better and better. This is the one that I think you'd be most excited about. Imagine with Claude Code. So experimental feature. And as you can see, it has this little desktop that pops up. So what I could do is it's got kind of starter functions and this unique work desk environment, right? So if I wanted to build something like create a task management app based on James uh, Clear's book, as you can tell, I stink at typing. Atomic Habits. There's probably a typo in here. Oh, terrible, terrible. Okay. I even misspelled that wrong. So what you're going to see now is it's really cool. It's going to build out like an interface in real time of what this would look like. So instead of vibe coding where you're doing all text and then you keep going back and checking, it basically is creating this visual and this app structure in real time. So it's got all of these different areas like, okay, today's habits, what would be good to do, 4 laws of behavior change, which this is dead on, by the way. And I didn't give it any of these details, but I read the book and this is one of the areas that it has. Now the other thing is you can click on like add habit, and then what it'll do is it'll build that out in real time, right? So if I wanted to build it out, I clicked on add habits, and you can't really see it because it's going below, but it's starting to build out this whole new interface. All right. Now, I was pretty impressed with this. I've never seen anything like this where effectively you could type in some examples and something that's so short and it builds that fast. So I think that like kind of the moral of the story is basically Claude 4.5 is really freaking impressive with a ton of opportunities. And I'm not overblowing this because the previous longest, I should say, unmonitored or autonomous work that was being done for coding agents was effectively 7 hours. And that was by the previous Claude version in 4.1. This is unlocking a massive amount of capabilities. I can't wait to tap in this deeper and deeper and to see what we come up with. But I had to share this with you in real time because it was fresh, it was new, and I think there are going to be some massive winners and losers who use this. If you get started on this now and start using this capability, I think you are going to have a business that could operate like 5 to 10x what everybody else does easily if you make this a part of the business. So, anyways, once again, appreciate you joining me. I have resources included with prompts and other areas in the link below, but really appreciate you joining me today, even though I was sick and struggling a little bit, but I look forward to seeing you on the next video.